Lies. Lies. We've been believing so many lies about adult friendship, but right now in this episode, we're going to get to the bottom of it and actually find out the truth that we all need to hear. Let's go. Welcome to Accidentally Intentional, where we are on a mission to destroy loneliness by building rich, meaningful friendships. And in this episode, we are parsing apart the lies that we've been believing about adult friendship in order to get to the truth, because it's so often that we can get stuck telling ourselves stories, making assumptions, this, that, or the other, but none of them are true. And these lies and these assumptions and these stories we've been telling ourselves are holding us back from actually building and creating those meaningful friendships that we've been longing for our whole life. And so as I start this episode, and I'm speaking about all of these examples from my own personal experience and how I had to combat and rewrite these stories by telling you the one question that I had to ask myself that changed everything. So that we go into this full episode asking ourselves this question through every single example I give of the lies we tell ourselves. And the question that changed everything for me is, who told you that? Who told me this about friendship or this about myself that I've ultimately been believing? So with that framing, let's begin. There's a lot of lies we tell ourselves about friendship, and we have a lot of thoughts that may or may not be correct. And I say may or may not be because ultimately these are thoughts coming from our brain, which is ultimately trying to keep us safe and protect us. So the first thought we have that's holding us back from friendship is actually believing that we don't need friends. I thought this at a time in my life when I had no friends because it just seemed so simple to not do anything. It just seemed so much easier on the outset. And ultimately, it is much easier to not have friends because friends require sacrifice of time, money, peace, pride. Like, friendships require a lot if you want them to be fruitful, meaningful, and rich, just like any other relationship in your life, or just like anything that's worth pursuing and having. Friendship is no different. So when we believe the lie that we don't need friends, first off, there's enough health data to destroy that thought. And so here's what I need to tell myself, and ultimately I'm telling you right now, is that we are in the midst of a loneliness epidemic. This is not from me. This is from the mouth of CDC directly. And loneliness is more harmful on our bodies than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Loneliness is actually killing us. And there's also a Harvard study, the longest study they ever did on longevity. And they found that the number one predictor of how long you will live and the quality of your life is based on the quality of your relationships, the friendships, the people you surround yourself with. So when we believe the lie, we don't need friends, that's exactly what it is. It's a lie. And we need to replace it with the truth. And the truth is, no, I do need friends because that is what makes the world and my experience here so much more beautiful. Having people to enjoy life with. And also believing that I'm worth having those friends. That's the truth. And that's what we all need to internalize when we're telling ourselves otherwise. How about this? This thought, I don't belong here. Now, this could be in any room. This could be a workplace, a extracurricular environment where hobbies, you walk into the room, it feels like everyone else is different than you, and you immediately tell yourself to try and protect yourself, I don't belong here. I had that experience a couple years ago. I felt like such a misfit. I felt like the only person in the room that, first off, I felt like the dumbest person in the room. Like everyone was head and shoulders above me, pursuing their dreams. And the first thing I thought when I walked in the door was, holy crap, I do not belong here. In fact, I don't even know how I got here, quite honestly. Like, what do people think I am? I don't belong here. That's what I just kept telling myself. But I made a decision to change the narrative to, wait, I belong in this room. The reason that switching that lie to a truth such as I belong in the room, whether I felt it or not, was so powerful was because it gave me a certain confidence to seek out why I actually was in the room and what value I uniquely could add to the world and the people around me. So if you're telling yourself, I don't belong in this room, who told you that? Us. We told ourselves that. And it's holding us back from building incredible connections with others. So let's replace that lie with the truth. You do belong in the room. Okay, how about this thought, this lie we've been believing about adult friendships? I can't ask because I don't want to bother somebody. I'm going to burden them. Okay, I'm pretty sure all of us are guilty of doing this. But let me tell you something crazy. They've actually studied this. They have studied the concept of people feeling rejected, just personally, after inviting someone to something, after asking for help. And they have found, this is a Stanford study, you can look it up. They found that people are 1.5 times more likely to accept an ask, accept us, accept an invite than we have been thinking that they are. So this is actually a data-backed lie we've been telling ourselves, and we now have the truth. And that is that we're not a burden. We're not bothering people. And let's just think about it. Let's just think about it holistically. If someone asked you for help and you had the capacity to help them, what's your first response? For sure. Of course I'd want to help. And that's just it. We want to help. That's part of our DNA. Our ancestors were part of tribes. That's how they thrived. They were together all the time, building, creating community. You couldn't survive without community. You would literally die when you were alone. That goes back to the previous point. But the truth is, we're not bothering people. And when we tell ourselves that lie, what you're actually doing, and what I've been actually doing, is deciding for someone else what their reaction is going to be. And that may seem like it's helpful, but it's so harmful because we're not giving people the space to actually share with us what their answer is, let alone giving them the opportunity to step alongside us and do this thing called life together. Here we go. Here's another lie that we so often tell ourselves, which is holding us back from deep friendships in adulthood. And that's that thought, they're too busy. I make that face because, oh my gosh, so many times I have cowered back from asking or inviting somebody to something under the guise of, what's the use? They're too busy. Maybe they declined one time before and they had a really valid reason, but now I'm telling myself this lie, they're too busy, when in reality, why would we not ask? We often assume that others are too busy to hang out, especially if they have a recent life event that happened, such as they had a child, they got married, they reached retirement. Like, there's all of these things that we make up these stories without actually asking people what the truth is by saying they're too busy. And so here's what I learned to combat that lie is to ask anyway, because people will make time if it's important to them. And it's better to offer someone the opportunity to say yes or no rather than just default assuming that it's a no for them. Ever had this thought, this lie that you've been telling yourself? They don't like me. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure all of us have had a self-conscious moment where we have thought that about other people. They don't like me. Well, that goes back to that Stanford study I discussed earlier, where people are 1.5 times more likely to accept us than we think they are. The reason this thought of people don't like me is so dangerous is because you're projecting an assumption that could easily become a self-fulfilling prophecy and narrative. Because if you go walking through life believing that people don't like you, your guard is up and you're looking for ways that they're hurting you and ways that you need to protect yourself. There's this quote by Brené Brown that says, whatever you focus on in life, whatever lens you're looking at the world through, you'll always be sure to find more of. So this lie is actually really dangerous to us because it's isolating, it's an assumption, we're not letting anybody in. So how do you replace this one with truth? Well, this one's gonna require some vulnerability sometimes. Ask somebody. I would never ask somebody if they don't like me. They're gonna think I'm so paranoid. But okay, and if it's a friendship that means something to you, then why not go first and choose to be vulnerable and get to the truth? Because the truth will set us free, okay? I mean, think about it. Wouldn't you rather know so you can stop letting this story replay in your head time and again? I for sure want to. Yeah, it might be hard. Yeah, they might say, honestly, you've been annoying me lately, but they could easily say, oh my God, no, sorry, I just had so much going on at work, or I've been shifting my focus to my family, and then you find out the truth. Nobody hates you, nobody doesn't like you, nobody forgot about you, just life happened. And then it gives that friend an opportunity to be intentional, as well as you be intentional to bring it back together. So I would say the mindset shift we need to have, the truth we need to tell ourselves, is we need to assume the best of intentions and seek clarity if we're not sure. Because misinterpretations often arise from a lack of communication, not actual dislike. And I have a full episode dedicated to assumptions, how they're harming us, and how to find out if there have been some assumptions that have been holding you back. If you want to check out this episode, you can click up here. You might be watching this video or listening to this episode thinking to yourself, man, I really like where we're going with this, but ultimately, I don't really know where to even start when it comes to building rich friendships or getting out of my rut of loneliness. And if that's you, I got you. Because now we have a free downloadable guide, which is the 5 steps you need to build rich friendships. It's the springboard that launches you into every other facet of your life in your own mission to destroy your loneliness. It's the exact steps that I, along with now hundreds of others, have used to destroy their loneliness and build the friendships that they've always dreamed of and always wanted. And now it could be your turn too. So make sure you check out the link in the description or the show notes to download that guide for free right now. 5 steps to build rich friendships. Hey, by the way, I think you're worth it. Back to the show. All right, here's another thought bubble and a lie that we've been telling ourselves, but this one is kind of interesting, okay? Here's the lie. We actually often say it to other people. I'm definitely guilty of this. It's the sentence, let's hang out soon. What are you talking about? How's that a lie? I want to hang out with them soon. Here's the problem with that. Soon isn't a day on the calendar. It's said often, casually, but it doesn't lead to making any real plans. And so I had to make the mindset shift of when I'm saying let's hang out soon or I want to hang out soon, that's not really the full truth, because the truth is if I want to hang out, I need to put it in the calendar, schedule it, and actually make the plans, let alone do what I say I'm going to do. And so making plans, scheduling it, gives me the opportunity to do that, go first, show someone that I care about them, because the thing that matters most to people in any friendship is how you made them feel like they mattered. So putting someone in the calendar, giving them the gift and generosity of your time is one of the first gateways to do that. But in order to do it, we have to switch that lie of I want to hang out soon to let's hang out this date in the calendar, or when are you available? Actually take action on it. Back to legit lies that we tell ourselves. I'm too awkward and shy. Okay, so here's the deal. I used to lead a small group, and at the very beginning of the small group, I asked everyone one question. I said, who in the room feels awkward when meeting new people? I actually didn't expect the entire room to raise their hand. And that taught me a big lesson right there, because seems like meeting people is awkward. We're not awkward. The whole situation is awkward. And that doesn't count us out in spite of it. We can do it because meeting people is awkward, not us. So when you're telling yourself that lie, I'm too awkward and shy, or I'm too introverted, what you're literally saying is, I don't believe that I'm worth building friendships in spite of this. And you're also kind of telling yourself in one way, I'm okay with being lonely. And quite honestly, I don't think any of us are okay with that. I mean, the stats tell us that we're not. And we need to believe that we are worth doing it in spite of how uncomfortable we feel. And by doing it, I mean going and making friends. So switch that lie to the truth of, hey, you know what? I'm capable of forming great friendships. How about this thought? I don't have time for people. That's a lie we often tell ourselves. But what the truth actually is that we do have time for people. We're just choosing our priorities to be other things instead of said people. I think all of our phones will tell us that from the amount of time we probably spend on social media. And if you're not on social media, you're amazing, and I want to be more like you. But truly, how many times do we tell ourselves, I don't have time for people, when really it's a scheduling issue, it's a prioritization issue. And so if we get stuck in that thought process, now, yes, sometimes that's absolutely true, such as having a newborn. That becomes your entire life for months on end until the baby can learn certain things, you know? But we should not stay stuck telling ourselves that lie of, I don't have time for people, period. I don't have time for people ever. That's not true. We need to tell ourselves the truth of, you know what? I've said that, but in all reality, I need to just prioritize better, because I actually want to believe that people think I'm worth making time for. So I need to go first and be that friend too. And here's another, we'll close on this one. Another thought bubble and lie that we so often tell ourselves is, they don't care about me. They don't care about me because insert. They don't care about me because insert something else. We're building a narrative that isn't based in reality. And that narrative is harming us and our friendships. What if we started replacing that negative self-talk, that belief that people don't care about us, with positive assumptions? What's a positive assumption? They care about me and they have a lot on their plate right now. This one often comes down to expectations for other people. For instance, if you expect someone to come to a talk or a game and they can't make it, and we start telling ourselves they don't care about me, that is not grounded in truth at all. And how do I know that? Because you didn't actually clarify and ask someone if that was true. So if we truly don't believe that someone doesn't care about us, we need to have a conversation, and we need to open the door for them to be able to respond and tell us the truth. We can't automatically assume the worst without demanding evidence. And so often when we're having these feelings and our brain's saying, don't, we need to protect you, we have to demand evidence. And if we can't find evidence to it, then perhaps it's not true. So these are all soundtracks that we're telling ourselves. And soundtracks is a term that comes from the book Jon Acuff wrote titled Soundtracks. And it's all of these lies and these overthinking narratives that we tell ourselves that ultimately hold us back. I would highly recommend the book, but one of the cruxes of it is how to eliminate these soundtracks, how to take these lies and replace them with truth. And there's 3 ways that he helps us learn how to do that. And it's by asking 3 questions. Is it true? Which, if we don't have evidence, we can't say something's true. Is it helpful? Is this thought I'm having helping pull me closer to building friendships or pulling me further away from it? And is it kind? Are we beating ourselves up? Are we talking negatively about ourselves? Because if all 3 aren't yes, then we actually have to throw that out. That's a lie. That's a lie about adult friendship that we've been believing, and we need to replace it with truth. And you are probably watching this video because maybe you didn't know what we were going to go through, but you're like, yeah, I'm guilty of a lot of these. And you know what? That's okay. Because we have to be aware of how our mind can sometimes play tricks on us with the best intentions of trying to protect us. But ultimately, even in spite of all this, you are worth building rich, meaningful friendships. And I don't want to. And I don't want you to let these lies we've been telling ourselves hold us back anymore. So let's go out there, start recognizing these lies we've been telling ourselves, and ultimately replace them with truths so that we can unlock the friendships that we've always wanted. We'll see you next time.